Welcome to Sunday School.
We hope you have a great time with us this morning.
Hello everyone and welcome to Sunday School. It is great to have you with us. I hope that you've had a really good start back to school. If you've gone back to school or maybe you've started school for the first time, I hope you're settling in really well. It is great to have you here, and I'm afraid to say that it might be the start of autumn. I can see the trees starting to change colour. I can feel the temperature start to change, and it is certainly getting a bit more wet and miserable. But autumn also brings some really cool and fun things to celebrate, like firework night, or stomping in the leaves, or getting to look forward to the dark cozy nights where you can wrap up in a blanket and watch a movie with your family. And there's lots of things to be thankful for, as well as a lot of things to be like, bit grumpy about. Maybe wet playtimes, I know no one enjoys those, or your cold walk to school in the morning, that might not be too fun either. I'll be the first to admit that I'm not always that excited about autumn coming, but I'm trying to remain thankful and see the good in certain situations. And that's some of what we're going to talk about this morning. But before we do, let's have an autumn themed game before we start to talk about that. See, our game showed us that there are lots of things that we can still look forward to about autumn. And we're going to watch a story together now about someone who was not very grateful or looking forward to what God had asked them to do. God was sending them on a really special, important mission that he could help and show people how much he loved them. But Jonah did not want to go. He was a bit reluctant and worried about going. A bit like me. I'm a bit sad when summer ends and it goes into autumn. I'm really reluctant for the leaves to change colour. But maybe we can learn something from the story together about how to see the good and be grateful even when things don't seem to be going too well. So let's see if we can learn something from our story together today.
Heroes of the Bible, Jonah. This is Jonah. Jonah was a prophet. That means it was his job to tell people what God told him to say.
Yep.
One day, God told Jonah to go to Nineveh because the people of Nineveh were doing bad things. But instead, Jonah ran away.
Where are you, please?
And went to the port to board a ship, going the other way. He was hoping to get away from God. He sailed for a place called Tarshish. While he was at sea, God sent a great and powerful wind over the sea that caused a storm that seemed like it would break the ship apart. Fearing for their lives, the sailors tried everything they could think of to save the ship. Meanwhile, Jonah was sound asleep. So the captain went down and said, "How can you sleep at a time like this? Get up and pray to your God. Maybe he will help us." Then the crew figured out that Jonah was the reason for the storm. And they asked him, "Who are you? Why is this happening to us?" Jonah told them who he was and that he worshiped the one true God who made the sea. Then he told the sailors to throw him in the sea so the storm would stop.
No, why?
The sailors still tried to escape the storm, but it was no use. So they asked God for forgiveness and threw Jonah into the sea. The storm stopped at once.
Whoa!
The sailors were amazed at God's power and they vowed to serve him. Now God sent a great fish to swallow Jonah.
Great.
And Jonah was inside the fish for 3 days and nights. Jonah prayed to God from inside the fish, and God ordered the fish to spit Jonah out.
Yuck.
God told Jonah again to go to the city of Nineveh to tell them what God had said about them.
I get it.
This time, Jonah obeyed God and went to Nineveh to deliver God's message. The people of Nineveh stopped doing bad things and turned to God. They were saved because they listened to the message that God had given Jonah.
Poor old Jonah. He tried to run away and that didn't work. He tried being grumpy about it. That didn't work. And he even tried to make it work in his own way, and that didn't work either. But eventually, he did what God had asked him to, and amazing things happened. He found the good in a situation that he was really not looking forward to. And if I'm honest, the end of the story goes, he's not very grateful again. Jonah is not a great role model, but there are things that we can learn from him. Things that I've learned from him. Even when I'm feeling grumpy because it's getting cold and wet and the mornings are really, really dark, I can still be thankful and grateful for the amazing things in God's world. Like how beautiful are the trees when they change colour? Or all the new animals that we're going to start to see because of the change of season. Or the time we get to spend inside with the people we care about that we might not have got before because we're busy out doing lots of things. We can try and be grateful and thankful to God even when things are a bit not how we want them to be. They're a bit wet, they're a bit dark, they're a bit boring. But even in those situations, we can find the good and look for the good in those. We can try and have a positive way of looking at the world around us. We can look for the good in situations, even if they're not the way we want them to. I would love for it to be warm all year round, but actually that probably wouldn't be very good for the plants. It probably wouldn't be very good for everyone because it'd be too hot all the time and they'd be grumpy then, and not many things would grow. So we need a whole mix of things, and even if we don't enjoy them, they're still for our good. And we can try and be grateful and thankful even when the situations are bad, and look and see the positives in those situations. That is something we can learn from Jonah, even if we don't want to be grumpy like him. We can look for the positives and see how God is doing amazing things, even when things feel a bit strange. Isn't that exciting? Isn't that cool? In your school situations, even if you've been a bit worried about starting or you're just starting to make friends, God will be making things good and you'll be able to see the positives in those situations. Even if it's a bit boring sat in the classroom at wet playtime, try and see the positives, the people you get to see, the things you get to do that are a bit different, and God will meet you there. That's amazing, that God is in the good times and the bad times. He gets to share in both of those with us together. That's something worth celebrating, I think. So why don't we sing a song together to celebrate this?
Okay, everyone, so I hope you've got your instruments ready, whether you found something that shakes, something that makes a big noise, something that makes a bang, or even something that makes a bit of a tune. But why don't you join in with this song? It's Our God is a Great Big God. And if you know the actions, you need to be doing them as big as possible. Okay. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. He's higher than a skyscraper, and He's deeper than a submarine. He's wider than the universe and beyond my wildest dreams. And He's known me and He's loved me since before the world began. How wonderful to be a part of God's amazing plan. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. He's higher than a skyscraper, and He's deeper than a submarine. He's wider than the universe and beyond my wildest dreams. And He's known me and He's loved me since before the world began. How wonderful to be a part of God's amazing plan. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. And He holds us in His hands. And He holds us in His hands. And He holds us in His hands.
It was awesome to sing with you guys and celebrate today, and I hope, like me, you learned something from our story today and will start to look for the positives in every situation, and that God will be helping us to notice the positive things and help us to see them in those situations. That is my hope and my prayer for you guys watching this. But for now, I will say bye. I'll see you guys soon, and you'll see Fran next time at Sunday School with another exciting story for us to learn all about. So, see you soon.